Saudi Arabia is one of the countries with the most serious desertification in the world, second only to Saudi Arabia. In order to improve this situation, Saudi Arabia launched a huge plan in 2021, planning to invest $50 billion to control desertification. However, the result is regrettable, and Saudi Arabia's efforts did not work. The reason is that the planted seedlings withered within a few days and could not survive in the harsh environment at all. It was not until 2024 that the Saudi Center for Desertification Control began to seek external help and directly asked China, hoping to jointly deal with the increasingly serious desertification problem through cooperation. Surprisingly, China took on this challenge very confidently and promised to help Saudi Arabia complete it by 2040. According to China's plan, Saudi Arabia will achieve 30% of desertified land conversion into green land by 2040 and plant up to 10 billion trees. So the question is, why did Saudi Arabia seek help from China? And why does China have the confidence to say that it can help Saudi Arabia create an oasis? If you like our video content, please click to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can receive all our latest video content. Now let's get into today's topic. Everyone may have heard that Western Sahara is one of the most serious desertification areas in the world, and the desert accounts for about 97% of the country's land area. But did you know that Saudi Arabia is right behind it? Saudi Arabia's desert covers about 95% of its land area, making it almost a desert kingdom. Over the years, Saudi Arabia's desertification problem has also affected the entire Middle East, because Saudi Arabia's land area accounts for about 70% of the Middle East. In other words, whenever there is a strong wind, the impact of Saudi Arabia's desertification will spread to neighboring countries, bringing pressure to the entire Middle East. According to my investigation, Saudi Arabia's economic losses due to desertification are as high as about $13 billion each year, and the most obvious of these is the food problem. In order to meet this severe challenge, Saudi Arabia proposed an ambitious plan, the Green Plan, and included it as part of the Vision 2030. Then in 2021, Saudi Arabia officially launched the Saudi Green Initiative project. According to this initiative, Saudi Arabia plans to invest $50 billion to plant 10 billion trees in the next few decades, while restoring 40 million hectares of degraded land, aiming to achieve 30% of Saudi Arabia's land into nature reserves. Among them, the goal of the first phase is to plant 450 million trees across the country and expand the area of domestic protected areas to more than 10% of the total land area. Of course, the idea is always good, but it is not easy to achieve. In 2022, when Saudi Arabia began to formally implement the Saudi Green Initiative, it encountered a very big problem. Because the climate in Saudi Arabia's desert area is extremely harsh, the average temperature in summer is as high as 43 degrees Celsius. The planted seedlings require a lot of water resources for continuous irrigation, but Saudi Arabia itself is a desert country with severe water shortages and does not have enough water to support such a huge plan. Not only that, even the seedlings that are barely successfully planted are difficult to survive. After a strong wind, many saplings were either uprooted or buried directly by the quicksand in the desert. Faced with these practical problems, Saudi Arabia had to announce the suspension of investment in the project in 2022 and decided to temporarily shelve the planting plan. However, surprisingly, in 2024, Saudi Arabia suddenly announced the restart of the 10 billion tree plan. So, what is going on? Has Saudi Arabia found a new solution? In fact, Saudi Arabia did not find an effective solution on its own, but sought help from China. In 2024, Saudi Arabia will hold the annual World Environment Day celebration, and the focus of the discussion at this event is on desertification, land degradation, and drought resistance. They pointed out that there are more than 2 billion hectares of land degradation in the world, which directly or indirectly affects the survival and development of half of the world's population. Saudi Arabia hopes that China can provide technical support to jointly cope with the global desertification crisis. With the intervention and support of the Chinese government, Saudi Arabia and Chinese companies signed a $50 billion strategic cooperation agreement to introduce China's advanced sand control technology and services to help Saudi Arabia realize their 10 billion tree plan. It is worth mentioning that when signing the agreement, Chinese companies were very confident and promised to fully support Saudi Arabia and help realize the 10 billion tree plan by 2040. Not only that, Saudi Arabia also plans to transform 30% of the desertified land in the country into oases through this cooperation, and increase the proportion of renewable energy to 50% of the national electricity supply. Subsequently, Chinese companies quickly took action and sent a group of ecological governance experts to Saudi Arabia to conduct joint inspections with local governments and scientific research institutions. In the first phase of desert control, China helped Saudi Arabia complete several important infrastructure projects. First, China built a 225-meter-long and 10-meter-high dam to store precious water resources. Then, China assisted Saudi Arabia in launching a seawater desalination plant project on the Red Sea coast. The plant can produce 400,000 cubic meters of fresh water per day, which is transported to the dam for storage through water pipelines, solving the problem of irrigation water in the desert. In addition, Chinese companies also plan to lay a 1,350-kilometer water pipe network to transport fresh water deep into the desert to ensure that the irrigation needs of desert trees can be continuously met. After the infrastructure was completed, China further provided Saudi Arabia with drought-resistant seedlings, soil improvement technology, and other necessary support to help it advance its desert control plan on a large scale. Surprisingly, in just over half a year, Saudi Arabia's Tadic National Park has undergone a dramatic change. This vast and arid land, once located north of the capital Riyadh, has now been completely transformed. Thanks to the advanced tree planting technology and methods provided by China, the area has been completely transformed. Now, the 600-square-kilometer park is known for its magnificent valleys and rich green vegetation. During the ecological restoration process, 250,000 trees and 1 million shrubs were planted here, and terrace dams were built to collect local scarce rainwater resources. When it was confirmed that the seedlings provided by China could grow successfully in Saudi Arabia's arid environment, Chinese companies immediately made more ambitious plans. Starting in 2025, they will introduce a series of modern technologies to Saudi Arabia, including intelligent robot tree planting system, modern nursery construction, germplasm resource technology, satellite remote sensing monitoring and data analysis platform, and even advanced automation and digital technologies such as blockchain carbon chain technology and photovoltaic sand control. These cutting-edge technologies will promote the implementation of Saudi Arabia's 10 billion tree plan faster, and at the same time improve the accuracy of desert control. Interestingly, after achieving this great ecological achievement, Saudi Arabia hosted the 16th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification at the end of 2024 to share their experience and achievements with countries around the world. When talking about the cooperation between Saudi Arabia and China, Saudi Arabia said, "We have set long-term goals for greening treatment and management and plan to attract more than $100 billion in investment in the next 10 years. Chinese technology and enterprises undoubtedly play a key role in this process." What is most noteworthy is that, thanks to the remarkable achievements of China's afforestation technology, Saudi Arabia also plans to cooperate with other Arab countries to carry out a larger-scale Middle East green plan, with the goal of planting an additional 40 billion trees. According to calculations, a tree can absorb about 22 kilograms of carbon dioxide per year. If this initiative is successfully implemented, the 10 billion trees planted by Saudi Arabia will be able to store 220 billion kilograms of carbon dioxide, and the 40 billion additional trees in the Middle East Green Plan will be able to store another 880 billion kilograms of carbon dioxide. In this way, The total of 50 billion trees will not only account for 5% of the global afforestation target, but will also restore about 200 million hectares of degraded land. It can be said that this plan is very strategic in terms of both ecological benefits and scale. In addition, Saudi Arabia also emphasized the severe ecological problems facing West Asia and North Africa. Drought, desertification, and land degradation in the region have seriously threatened the lives and livelihoods of local residents. About 3/4 of arable land has been degraded, and 60% of the population faces water shortages, and this number is expected to increase further by 2050. Faced with such a dilemma, Saudi Arabia called on more countries to join the United Nations Convention to combat desertification and set a goal of reducing land degradation by 50% by 2040. It is not difficult to see from this series of plans and initiatives that Saudi Arabia is very proud to obtain China's desert control technology. So why did Saudi Arabia choose to cooperate with China from the beginning when it knew that China could help them? In fact, China was once one of the countries with the most serious desertification in the world, with a desertified area of nearly 2.6 million square kilometers at one time. But as early as 70 years ago, China began to invest huge resources and energy in the field of desertification control, trying to change all this. From the initial grid sand control technology to today's photovoltaic sand control, agricultural sand control, and aquaculture sand control, China has successfully completed the sand control task of 20.33 million hectares through continuous exploration and efforts, and achieved a historic transformation from sand advancing and people retreating to green advancing and sand retreating. Today's China, the once barren land, those yellow sand-filled deserts, has become a Sichuan oasis with green trees. According to statistics, 53% of China's manageable desertified land has been effectively managed, and the net area of desertified land has decreased by 65 million mu. Through the implementation of the key project of the Three Norths Shelter Belt System construction, China has not only protected 538 million mu of desertified land, but also effectively managed 118 million mu of desertified land. What is even more remarkable is that after years of hard work, China's forest coverage rate has increased from 12.41% to 13.84%, and 61% of the area of soil erosion has been effectively controlled. From these achievements, it is not difficult to understand why Saudi Arabia would seek help from China. As a country that was once also deeply troubled by desertification, China's technical experience and practical achievements in the field of desertification management are undoubtedly the most convincing answer. To not miss out on our future projects and news updates, please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We will continue to provide you with more exciting and interesting content.